Okay, let's see if I can do this. Rarity of rarities, I am here with a drama that I actually loved instead of one that I have a lot to complain about with. But I have to honestly start off with saying that, okay, this drama is this one up here. It's called Eternal Brotherhood. And the biggest thing that, like, terrifies me about this is that I absolutely love it. It's only 24 episodes long, but that's the problem. I did not know that this is actually season one. It does not have an ending. It literally ends in the middle of everything. The problem with that being that one of the things that makes this story so good is that it is only 24 episodes and it had a pretty good pace. I think a few places it was maybe slowing down a little bit more than I would have liked. But the problem is, honestly, looking at this story, they could easily wrap it up really, really well within the next like 5, 6 episodes. They really could, like 6 episodes maximum. They could actually wrap this up pretty well, in my opinion. Problem being, they add a whole another 24 episodes to this. They are going to wreck the story because it is going to start dragging. It is not going to work to make that many more episodes. So I am seriously afraid. The story is so well done up to this point, and I am so afraid they're going to make a whole second season. There is not enough story left for a whole second season. They are going to undo so much good that they've done so far. That is what I'm afraid of. It would take like a miracle for them to make a whole second season and keep the story as good as it is right now. I've been let down way too many times before. I have no hopes for a full second season being good. It's gonna drag and it's gonna. That's my biggest complaint about the whole thing is that. Um, but then, like, of course, the one character that I really could not stand was the chieftain. Because I honestly can't tell within this drama how much of it is in my head and how much of it is what they are legit telling me and how much of it I'm figuring out because I'm just that smart. Because, in my opinion, this chieftain is a horrible, horrible, horrible man. Horrible man. He makes my skin crawl. And it seems like this one, the only picture I'm taking of him because I can't stand this guy, but it seems like this one, the way they did this whole thing and every time it showed him and everything he was doing and all the rest of this, I was like, I can't trust him to tell me a lie because lies are all he ever does. Like, if there's one thing that I guarantee you he will do is tell a lie, and I can't even trust him to tell a lie. That's how little I can trust him. He's creepy to the nth degree. He is twisted, in my opinion. And it just makes me even more upset that, like, characters like Dylan are so intensely loyal to him when he's like that. These characters getting entirely twisted up themselves because they're loyal to this guy. And we're going to get into that because this is already 5 minutes long of an introduction. But you see, I'm going to go through this because I loved the show. And I want to point out why. It's always so hard to figure out how to do it in a way that, I mean, like, how do I do it? How do I go about this? So the way I've chosen it this way, I actually just went through the drama. I was skipping through it and I was taking screenshots and hoping to use these screenshots as cues for what I want to say, because I want to go over, like, there's the individual characters. There's so many characters in this drama. I was shocked by how many characters I either liked or really, really liked. And it's the individual characters themselves, and on top of that, even better, is like the interactions between all of these characters. And it's not just the main characters, it's the side characters. And the only other thing I wanted to say before I get into that is the magic that is in this drama. And I don't know, again, like, this could be considered a big spoiler. So if you don't want to know about the magic and how it's used and when it's used and who uses it, then mute it or something and unmute it after the words disappear. The magic in this drama confused me because, like, if you've seen my other videos and heard me mention it, like, fantasy and magic in stories and stuff, that's my favorite kind of drama. So, like, I started watching this one and I was not expecting any magic at all. And then this drama started and there was magic in the first episode. And I was like, oh, my interest level just went, ooh. But that right there is the only magic you see until episode 23. in episode 23, at about the 23-minute mark, all of a sudden, finally, it's been since the very beginning of episode 1, all the way until halfway through episode 23 is the first time you see magic again. And I thought, I felt like I was going through it crazy throughout the whole drama. I'm like, what the crap was that? They kind of referenced it and made it sound like it was somebody else doing it. And I'm like, but how? Who is this other dude they're talking about? Is he, possessing, Juan or something? Like, how is this working? They're not explaining anything. They're just leaving it hanging and making me so flippin' confused. I was very, very, very confused. And then they had a conversation in episode 24 at about the 37:30 mark. They had a conversation between Si Yilin and Jichuan. And that, finally, at almost the end of episode 24, they actually confirmed that, yeah, it's Ju that's doing this. They still haven't explained how, but they themselves confirmed, both of them know that he can do that. Given that conversation, you shouldn't have done it. Yeah, I should have done this instead. They aren't referring to it like it's somebody else that did it. Both of them are saying it's him that's doing this, and they both know that he can do this, even though he's never indicated anywhere within the drama except at the beginning of episode 1 and halfway through episode 23. Those are the only 2 places that it ever happens. Other people made it sound like other stuff, so you feel like you're going crazy throughout the whole drama, trying to figure out what this is, where it's coming from, So I don't know if they bring out a second season, what's going to happen in there. They've made it clear with other references that the Northern Clan has some kind of ability to do some kind of magic. So what, is it going to turn out that Ju is actually originally from the Northern Clan somehow? I don't know, because the story has been left hanging. I don't know how much more magic they're actually going to bring into it. I didn't expect any, and then I got excited because I thought there'd be some, and then I was just like, for 23 episodes. I'm like, why did the story choose to do this? This is weird. Okay, moving past the magic into the actual characters. Okay, so quick introduction. 9 minutes in. Now I'm going to tell you this story, Eternal Brotherhood. It's the way they described it is kind of weird and confusing. But the whole setup is basically it starts in the middle of everything, and that's actually one of the things I really liked about this drama, is it starts in the middle of everything, and the characters are acting, the actors did such a good job, an incredible job, all of them did, was starting in the middle of everything and acting like they've already been doing this their whole life. You're literally jumping into the middle of everything already happening. Everybody is already in their place, and everybody else knows what's going on, but I, the viewer, don't know. They all know what's going on. The closest to not knowing anything is Bai Chuan. She's the closest to not knowing anything, and even she's been there for 6 months. So, but all of the characters, all of the actors did such a good job of jumping right into the middle of things and doing it so naturally that there is not even a hitch. There's no indication that they haven't already been doing this for years. You would think that the actors and actresses had been filming 20 episodes at least already, and then that just all got tucked away somewhere and we never see it, but they've already lived through it, because you can't tell that we started in the middle of everything. It doesn't feel like it started in the middle of everything. Unnatural. It feels so natural. It's so natural. It just flows so naturally in the middle of everything. Where was I going with that? All of the characters and how they act with each other. It's all of them. Oh, I was telling you what the drama's about. The characters are all set up in specific places, because jumping into the middle of everything, there's this one character that everybody is convinced is going to rebel, because there's this country, the Zhuan country, the Zishuan country or something. I was a little confused by country versus whatever, but there's this family Zishuan. They've been ruling this place for I forget how long. So there's the family Zishuan, and there's the country Zishuan or whatever that was established by them, and they're the rulers. So there's this whole thing that happened with the older generation, and that's the part of the story that I didn't really like, because I'm even them, they stepped into the middle of everything so naturally. But I'm that one was messed up. That whole story was messed up, and it was a little confusing because there was details and stuff, because it's jumping into the middle of everything. I don't feel like they quite explained it as well as they should have. I don't know if they will later, but to me it was a little confusing. And like, I didn't like those characters. There was a whole lot about it that was really, really irritating. And he's extremely uncomfortable. And I can't quite tell what's going on because even this bad guy, I was looking for his name. What is his name? Minghua, Yang Minghua. Everybody in town, like, there's all these rumors all over the place, and there has been for years that he's going to rebel and he's going to try to take over Sichuan. But it's like he's been on the brink of almost doing a rebellion for years now. And this is what it's jumping into the middle of, is this middle of this brink. And there's rumors all over the place that he's going to rebel. And it's like, is he or is he not going to? Is he not? And they're kind of tired of all of this. So, like, throughout this drama, there is a rebellion, and that is dealt with. But then because of the rebellion, somebody else basically ends up rebelling. And you think that the North Clan is going to be the big problem in this drama. Well, no, first you gotta deal with all the infighting. So, like, it's a whole lot of, and that's one of the reasons why this drama is so cool, is the communication between the good guys that's happening throughout this drama in order to deal with all of this. So I feel like this is really confusing and all over the place, so I hope you're following. But it's like, yeah, the whole drama is dealing with rebellions and traitors and backstabbers and war and all of that kind of stuff. That's basically what's going on in this drama. And there's a lot of characters, but there's like the main ones, because it's called Eternal Brotherhood, so it's about the three, specifically about them and how, like, what they're doing and how they're dealing with each other, but it's also about like other characters, obviously. So the main characters, there's Zhu Jichuan, and I have to say right off the bat, he's got ADHD. You can tell he has it. That is what it looks like, people. That is what it looks like. Gosh. I absolutely adore this character, okay? In case you couldn't tell, I absolutely adore him. Like, every scene he's in. And like, literally everybody that he interacts with. This actor, I've only ever seen this actor on one other thing. I think it was only one other thing. So I was kind of curious, because I'm like, I only saw him on one other thing, and in that other thing, he was like, there was only like 3 characters in that entire drama that I liked. Literally only like 3, maybe 4. I can't think of who the 4th one would have been, though. I can think of 3 right off my head. They were the only ones I liked, and he was one of them. I'm like, okay. And then there's Si Yilin, who's played by Liu Yining, that I had seen in a couple of the things. I'm putting things on the screen here because I can't off the top of my head remember. There's too many things to note when I'm going to make a video, so I had to do editing and put it in then. But of course I wanted to see him on more things. And then there is Si Yilin. I went and listened in the drama to how they said his name again, and now I can't remember again. Si Yilin, I think. And of course he's played by Zhang Ming, who I've seen in a few things. And of course, Rishan. I absolutely adore Rishan. So I wanted to see him and stuff. Those are the 3 brothers. Sworn brothers. They're not biological brothers, which is slightly disappointing to me. I wish they were biological brothers. But, like, those 3, I absolutely love the interactions between those 3, the relationships they have, the ups and downs, how they interact with each other, like... And of course, it's always you, because he's the only one that's got ADHD. So, like, Dylan and Si Yilin, when they're trying to deal with him, it's like... Oh, I love it. And then the main girl that you see a lot is Ning Zhang. And shock of all shock, I actually really like her, too. And, like, the pictures, we're going to go through, I don't know how long this video is going to be, because I'd like to go through the pictures to, like, point out different things. This is why, and this is where, and this is how. But then, on top of them, okay, so, like, to try to keep it straight, there's Zhu Jichuan and Ning Jichuan. Zhu was, like, adopted into her families, but it's one of those things, the Chinese do it a lot. I don't know if the Koreans do it too, where, like, someone is adopted into the family, but there's a possibility of them actually marrying, so that in the future, like, they're adopted in so that they can carry on the family, but it's kind of like an adoption, but at the same time a marrying thing. It's like, anyway, it's a cultural thing they do, or at least used to do. Probably not anymore. I don't know, maybe they do. Either way, that's off topic. The thing is, Ning and Ju really like each other. Like, really, really like each other. And they grew up together. But it's one of those things, because of who she is, she's the heir to the throne. She's the only heir to the throne. And because of who he is and because of who she is, and her uncle is the one that's currently the chieftain, that I absolutely do not in the slightest like, he doesn't want them to be together. So that whole relationship throughout the whole drama. And then there's Dilin. He's actually married to Lin Jujia, and they are so cute. And there is an epic quote from her that I'm going to get to. And then there's Si Yilin and Kadan, who end up falling in love with each other. And yeah. But then there's also Luo Jie, Bai Chuan, and Ming Yu. These three are the right-hand man of Zhu. And the interactions between them and him are just as epic as anything. They are the perfect people to be his right-hand men, I tell you. And then there's also Ge Qing, who's Dilin's right-hand man. I don't know why, but I like him too. Like, I like loyal people, okay? Loyalty's a big thing, and I love it when they're loyal. And it's like really good matches. Like, everybody in this drama, there's such good matches. There's such perfect teamwork in so many places. Like, such amazing communication and teamwork happening because everybody is so well suited for what they're doing and who they're doing it with. Oh, it's epic. And then, yeah, there's the bad guys, Yang Minghua. And there's also, is he the one? I have to see a picture of him. Where is he? Luo Minghai. This character twisted me all over the place. What they did with that character, I'm like, he's very likely one of the biggest victims, one of the biggest, like, I mean, okay, spoiler, like, you think he's a bad guy for most of the thing, and then, surprise, just like Dylan, he's actually a planted spy, he's actually a good guy. And in my opinion, this is one of the reasons I can't stand the chieftain, and I think he's so twisted, because I am convinced that the chieftain, he acted like he didn't do that on purpose, but I'm pretty convinced he did do that on purpose, because he has a way of controlling people that is absolutely freaky. I'm convinced he did, like, that guy lost his entire family, and I'm convinced the chieftain, like, oh, I just forgot to tell him, and that's why he didn't. I don't think you just forgot, dude. I don't think you just forgot. You're doing this in order to keep your control, and it is flipping freaky. So, like, that guy and everything that's happening with him, like, I'm kind of speechless about the way he acts and everything he does and how he handles things and everything is done to him, and I'm like, let's just not touch that. This is all I'm going to say about him, because I'm just like, whoa. And then there's the character Ge Yingjing, who is Zhu's master. And like I say, that comes from the older generation at the, oh, that's where, oh my gosh. ADHD moments, oh my gosh. I thought it got left behind. Where was I? Oh my gosh, that is way too funny. What on earth was I saying? Oh, the older generation stuff. It's messed up, okay? This whole thing is set in a time period where it's like literally the only way you can keep control. It's the time of period, especially in the Asian stuff, and it's like one of those things where I kind of understand because that's the way the world was at that time. But at the same time, if something is wrong, actually legit wrong, you can't just use culture as an excuse. It's still wrong. If it's wrong, it's wrong. I don't care what the culture dictates. If it's wrong, it's wrong. They quite regularly in these kind of cultures and time periods and whatnot kept their control by literally killing everybody that posed any kind of threat. And that's what this chieftain guy is doing. In order to, like, keep his control, he's, like, obsessed with killing literally everybody that even potentially could be any kind of threat. And that's the disturbing thing you see, the kind of toll it's starting to take on Dylan, because Dylan is the one doing it for him. And it's like this whole older generation completely fell apart because it's like, okay, these three were supposed to be sworn brothers. Clearly, there was literally never any trust between them to begin with. If they really if that's how they, like, I'm like, hey, oh, I don't really want to talk about them because that's just, and then the whole way that, like, it's like an honor death or something, and I'm like, this is just stupid. It's just so stupid. There's no honor in this. Like, what the crap, the way that guy. So moving past all of that, because I really don't want to talk about it, because that's not what I liked this drama for. That's the stuff I didn't like about this drama. But those are the characters, and that's the relationships between them. And now I'm going to go through some pictures and point some stuff out. And this is probably going to be long because, like, going through the pictures, there's 82 pictures here. Where's what I'm looking for? More editing. Okay. The magic. Okay, I already went over the magic, so moving on. These three. I probably already showed that picture too. The brothers. The way these three interact, I tell you, just literally, just the way these three interact when they're together, when it's only a couple of them, the dynamics and staying true to the character that they are is incredible. It was so well done. This here, Ning, that's not the introduction to her, I don't think. I don't know, this is so cute. The interactions between these two, Ning and Zhu, like, I love these two and the way they interact with each other and the way they treat each other. It is so cool. Like, and this is one of the examples because, like, Ning, it is so incredible how hard she works to actually understand Zhu. Zhu is one of those people that, like, because he's got ADHD and he's all over the place, most people don't really probably understand him. Like, look at Bai. It took her forever. It takes her throughout the entire drama to try to figure this guy out. And, like, Ning, she even makes a comment of how hard she's tried. And, like, it's incredible how much she does understand him. There's so much she doesn't understand, but, like, there's so much that she does. There's things about him that other people wouldn't get at all, and yet she can tell there is something there that's important. This isn't just trash. This is actually important. Okay, scenes that I absolutely love. Proof is ADHD. This entire thing was one of my favorite scenes in the entire drama. Because Zhu just won't stop, and it is so funny. I was laughing so hard throughout this entire thing, and, like, everybody thinks he's just a ditz that doesn't know anything, but oh my gosh, is he ever smart. And then there was this whole scene that made me laugh super hard. Like, what the crap, you guys? And here again, you think it's just dumb, but it's not just dumb at all. It turns out to be sign language, and that's how they were actually telling each other what was going on. Because, of course, at this point, like, Dylan is a spy with the bad guy, but it, like, shows you right off the bat, like, that he is not actually a bad guy. He's actually one of the good guys, and there's this whole setup that supposedly he and Zhu hate each other. So in public, they have to act like they absolutely hate each other, and it makes it for some epic scenes, including this one. And then, like I say, there's this whole scene and everything they were doing to keep up the act that they hate each other, while trying to go and find and save Si Yilin. And this is one of those examples, Zhu versus Bai Chuan, because it turns out that Bai Chuan was actually a spy. She was a plant, and she was supposed to be spying on him and all this stuff. And this is one of those things where, like, of course Zhu actually noticed this a long time ago. She thought she wasn't caught, and yet she was a long time ago. And he was already suspicious of her, and he figured things out. But his approach to the way he handles it, because, like, just everything he did with Bai Chuan and how she became one of his people for real because of the way he handled it. Like, it is so cool. Like, this Zhu, I absolutely adore Zhu. And like I say, these two are absolutely adorable, and this is where the quote comes in, because this here, when he says, "I'm willing to be your slave," that right there is in episode 7 at around the 24 mark. And this is something that my respect for her is through the roof, because this is what she says and she lives up to it. Like, she says at that point, "I won't stop you from risking your life, because that way you'd not be you. I won't tell you not to get hurt, because I know you're going on a battlefield. I only have one request for you. Come back alive, because you are my husband. Oh, that is so incredible. That is a strong woman. That is a loving woman. That is a caring woman. And that is a man being a man. And like, oh, these two. Oh. And I have to say, you see, when she says that, and then I'm watching the other show, Burning Flame, and what Bai Sai is like with Go, and I'm like, that versus that. And you want to know why I hate Bai Sai. But this is not supposed to be about Burning Flame. These two, Ning and Kadan. Kadan is the princess from the North Clan. In the very first episode, she was actually with the army, and she got captured. So throughout the entire drama, she's living at Ning's house. Well, she was in the prison, and then she got moved to Ning's house. Ning, as far as I can tell, Ning is supposed to be, I can't remember, at some point they said about what age she's supposed to be. I think she's supposed to be about 18 or something like that. And actually, like, the actress is nowhere near that age, but she did a pretty good job of, like, acting like it, especially once you know that she is supposed to be about that age. You're like, yeah, a lot of her behavior makes sense. Because she, like, is really young. And there's a few places where I'm like, okay, you went a little too far, Ning. Right now you're being, like, really annoying and putting people at danger and all this stuff because you just won't stop. And she, like, we just went over that quote that I forget her name and I put the book away, said. And then there's the opposite, where Ning will not stop telling Zhu to come back to the capital and be with her instead of doing what he's doing. But I can absolutely love Ning because she is young and there's things that she's trying to deal with. And Zhu is not really being helpful for a lot of drama because he's avoiding talking to her and being completely honest with her. And so in a lot of ways, I can't really blame her. Plus, she grows, and we're going to kind of get there. I'll jump from here. The way they fight, the way Ning and Zhu fight with each other is so funny. There's so many times when she's mad at him. She knows just what to do to get at him. He's like, oh crap, now what am I supposed to do? It's not working. And then, of course, from there, it's like you run away from home, and Si Yilin is like, well, what am I supposed to do with you? But then, yeah, this is one of the most touching scenes, is when Ning gets drunk, and Zhu comes to make up with her, and it's like, oh, that whole scene. The moral hilariousness where she's like, you promised to do what I told you to do, and now you're not doing what I told you to do. And he's like, what? Huh? Okay, and then there's the scene with playing the music. See, that is one of the most used tropes in all of these dramas. It is used all the time, where someone decides to cook for somebody, and it turns out they are a terrible cook, and the same mistake that almost every single one of them always makes, is to not taste their own cooking before they present it to someone else. And then everybody has to pretend they like it so that they don't hurt their feelings. Okay, sometimes, in some ways, they do it in a way that is kind of cute or it's kind of funny. Most of the time, it just makes me really, really irritated. And then there's this. This whole thing was actually really cute because she had been trying to get Zhu to play the song with her like they did when they were younger. One of those things that's not possible. He uses a leaf and he plays it like a flute where there's all these different notes and stuff. I'm like, that is literally not possible. It's not possible. But he does that while she's playing I can't remember what that thing's called all of a sudden. A ching or something. Oh my gosh, I can't remember what it's called. But it actually takes a bit before you find out that the reason he's avoiding playing with her is because she's not good at playing that instrument. She's completely off key and it sounds terrible. And her servant is one of the ones that, I like her servant. Her servant is really cute. That's another girl that I actually really like. But in this case, she's one of those typical ones where Ning is actually terrible at playing, and yet the maid is not helping anything because the maid just keeps telling her, yes, you're brilliant, it's awesome, it's all good. You're like, maid, you're not helping. I can't remember her name. I can't remember if it's May or something like that. Not helping. But then Zhu finally plays the thing with Ning, and she gets all excited because they all pretend like she's doing a good job, and she says that she's going to play that instrument in front of everybody at her birthday party, and Zhu's like, oh crap, now what do I do? But he is so brilliant with the way that he handles things. I think he was talking to Si Yilin, because that's the brother that he usually talks to. Zhu is the youngest, by the way, and Si Yilin is the second brother, and Dalin is the biggest. Dilan is the eldest brother. But Zhu's like, I'm gonna give her the birthday present that he's gonna give her. He's gonna give her her dignity. He brings her to this lady to learn how to play the instrument. But of course, the way they gotta do it, like, I mean, even this girl is like, how am I supposed to do this? Because Ning is so convinced that she plays it properly, that she plays it well. And the way they end up doing it, where this picture comes in, it is so brilliant. Both Zhu and this girl, the way they handle this is so brilliantly done. And then there's Ning's reaction. And it's like, oh. But then from there, because of the way that they handled it, and because of the kind of character that Ning is, and this is why I love her, she has her little meltdown, a self-pity party, and then she learns how to play that instrument. And she works so hard, and she gets so good at it, and everybody's reaction is they cheer, and they're so happy for her for how well she can play it. It is so cute, and it is so cool. This is one of the reasons why I don't like it most of the time when they do that in the dramas, where it's like somebody's a terrible cook, and instead of telling them that, like, instead of helping them to grow and improve and get better and actually be good at it, they just keep this perpetual lie up that ends up hurting them, because it goes for how long where everybody's in misery having to eat this disgusting food, and the person that's cooking for them legit thinks that they're doing a good job, and then eventually when they finally find out, they're so horrified that they've been doing a horrible job this whole time and torturing everybody. And it's like they're either kept in this weird delusion that's like it's not helping anybody, and if it ever does get broken, it's like so upsetting. It's like that is not helping anybody when you do that. But like he found the perfect way to break this to her, and that other girl found the perfect way to break it to her, and she got so good because of it. It's like so cute. You just helped her grow so much because of the way it was done. It was so cute. And then there's these two, like I said, Kadan and Si Yilin end up falling in love with each other. And of course, throughout this drama, there's like three. First of all, is Zhu that ends up getting targeted and almost dies because of it. Then there's Si Yilin that gets targeted and almost dies because of it. And then later on is Dilan that gets targeted and almost dies because of it. There's like these 3 times where they get targeted by the bad guys and almost die and all this stuff. And this scene was just really cute, the way she did that. And then, of course, those two again, when he comes home from the battlefield. They're so cute. Okay, and this one I think I took a picture of because I was going to talk about the flashbacks. Most of the time, most dramas, they start giving me so many flashbacks that I can't stand it. The flashbacks are way too long, the flashbacks are way too frequent, and the flashbacks are way too repetitive. I have seen that scene 5 million times, and I didn't need it more than maybe once, if even once. Most of the time, I hate the way that Asian dramas handle the flashbacks. So irritating. And I say the Asian dramas because, like, you know, I watch Japanese, Korean, and Chinese, and, like, the Koreans are terrible for this. There's music video mode, and there's flashback mode, and I hate both of them. But this one handled its flashbacks and stuff really interestingly, because there's 3 different ways that they did these things. They always did them in gray, when they're flashing to something that you saw. I think at one point they find that, I think there was one scene that they stopped. I'll get to that in a second. Most of the time when they did their flashbacks, they did it in gray. And there was the type of flashbacks where it's like you actually didn't see this before. It's telling you, like, it went from here and then it did this and then it backed up to show you what happened in between them. They did that a few times, like in this scene, where it explains how Si Yilin is walking again. But they do it in gray to let you know that this is from the past. And then the way they do the actual flashbacks, they kept them so short and so random on top of being gray that, like, it took me a little bit to realize they're actually showing me scenes from the past and from the future. And they're, like, mushing these 2 things together. So it's like a cue, so your brain is realizing this scene that's happening right now is important because it affected that, and it affects this. All of this is tied together. And it's like, it's like doing something to your brain. It's really interesting for their first, I can't remember how long it was that they were really doing this, and then they kind of backed off of it. Sadly, later on, after the one character dies, there's this one scene that Zhu keeps thinking about, and then you see that scene like way too many times. Like they start getting super repetitious with that scene. I'm like, you were doing so good for so long. But anyway, this scene here, Kadan and Ning, this is in the middle of, I told you there's the one character that does end up doing like basically like a coup. He's trying to take over the place. And this scene, these two actresses and Ning, oh my gosh, it made it so raw and so real. This poor girl, she knows what's going on outside. I don't think Kadan realized or knew. I can't remember at the moment whether she did or not. But poor Ning, she is so scared. Rightfully so, because of what's happening outside and because of who is involved. She's so scared that like Zhu's gonna die. She's scared that someone's gonna break in because of who she is. It's a rebellion. If they're going after the chieftain, they're going after her too. Like, she is so scared. And yet she is so brave in this scene. Like, the realness of what she's feeling. This actress did a brilliant job of bringing it out, and you're sitting there the whole time empathizing, making, oh my God, you poor girl. But she is so brave. She is so strong for how scared she is. And Kadan was like, oh, you sweetheart. She knew it and was like comforting her, but at the same time helping her be strong. And it's, oh, it was so, these two, the whole scene. Like, and then there came that whole scene. Oh, Zhu's reaction and Dylan's reaction and the implications of it all. Ouch. Oh, it's like, it's one of those things you're watching it and it's so well done. You stop breathing because you're like, spoilers for everything that was happening there, but it's like, ooh. And like, it's from here on that you really, really start seeing things like Dylan has been a spy with the bad guy. I forget how long they said. Was it 3 years or 5 years? Or was it, no, 7 years? Because at the beginning of it, what's his name, Zhu, had been gone to the other place for 7 years because of everything that happened back then. And I forget what exactly it was that happened, but he got banished from the capital city. Zhu got banished. And so he's been living in that other place for 7 years, and he finally came back to the capital. So, like, Dylan has been with the bad guy, being the bad guy's right-hand man for, like, 7 years. I think he was for that whole time. And he was actually working for the chieftain the whole time, and very few people knew it. And, like, but when he says, finally, like, dawn is coming and we can finally stand under the sun as actual brothers again, you're like, but now he comes out and he's in the light again, but his job's not really done because now he's doing all this dirty work for the chieftain in order to, like, that was the point all along. And it's like, you really, really, there's several places where you start seeing, like, his expression and stuff, and you're like, the burden he is carrying. And, like, this whole scene, when he said, not long before this, he said that the only people he cares about are his 2 brothers and his wife. He doesn't care about anybody else. It's the only people he cares about. And, like, he's loyal to the chieftain and doing this for the chieftain, but, like, it's not for the chieftain per se. It's for Zichan, the country Zichan and stuff. And, like, to keep a safe home for these people that he loves, quite obviously, because he says they're the only people he cares about. And it's kind of obvious. They really are the only people he cares about. But I think that, like, the thing with this, it's been 7 years, and these 3 are brothers. It's like, you can't pull them apart. But at the same time, Zhu clearly didn't expect this from Dylan, especially because he was going against Zhu, basically, because Zhu asked him to wait. I knew he wouldn't wait. But, like, this touches into the whole thing, like I said, in the culture of timeline, where it's like, this is how you handle things, where you kill everybody that poses any type of threat whatsoever, even if there was any threat at all, literally any threat at all. and this is how they're not seeing eye to eye, and I don't think Zhu realized that there was this big of a difference between the way they saw things until this moment, and you're like, whew. And then there's the weight of it. This carries on for I forget which episode, because that's the problem with showing these pictures. It didn't mark what episodes they're from, but there's a few episodes where this stays between them, but at the same time, like, the incredibleness of the relationship these guys have, where it's like, they just need time apart to think. But at the same time, how much they still love each other, and it's evident. It's like, hee, woo, ha. And then there's like I say, Ning and Zhu, the relationship they have, and Zhu finding out that somebody extremely important to him just died, and his reaction to it, and Ning's reaction to it, and Bai Chan is standing there too, and it's like, oh, it's the weight of that. And like I say, this is one of the scenes that proves, like, even though he's upset with Dylan, he's there. Because Dylan got put in prison, this is the part where Dylan's the one that gets targeted. But it's like, she was mad at him, but he still shows up. Because, like, no matter how mad you are, when you love someone, you love someone. When you're mad at them, you're still there when they're in danger. He doesn't want him to die, quite obviously. The way they interact in this whole part, because Dylan and Zhu are not talking, because Zhu is mad at Dylan. Poor Si Yilin is going back and forth, passing messages, and Dylan and Zhu are acting like they're not talking to each other. Then Si Yilin is like, would you stop it already? This is getting ridiculous. You both know it's each other. You're poor Si Yilin got in the middle. And then this scene was another one of the reasons why I love Zhu so much. The ADHD coming out in him, thinking outside of the box, the way he handles situations. My gosh, dude. This whole thing right here, where he's supposed to be recruiting people for the army. He's like in the reserve army at this moment. He's supposed to be recruiting people. But there's nobody to recruit, because the little backwater place that he's in right now, all that's really there is old people and kids, and like, there's no good strong men to, like, you know. So, but it turns out, like, there's a whole bunch of bandits out there in the country, and he figures out who the bandits are, and he comes up with this crazy plot. I don't want to, like, spoiler more than I have to spoiler. He comes up with this crazy plot, and so easily, nobody realizes until it's too late what just happened, and then too late, you've already been caught. He's such a genius. And then there's this whole thing there that's like a total running joke throughout the entire drama. In episode 1, the first time that you see Dylan and Zhu interact with each other. Like I say, this whole thing starts in the middle of everything already. Like, you are literally in the middle of these people's lives. They have already been living this life for a long time. And there's no doubts about it. They're so naturally in the middle of it all. And like, Dylan is married. But there was this, Zhu mentioned something about a bet back then, and because Zhu and Si Yilin lost, it was Dylan that got to approach her first. I'm like, is he being serious or not? But given the way that he totally teases her throughout the entire thing, it's like, I wonder if that was actually true. It could have been given these three. But it's a running joke throughout the whole thing. And then, like I say, these three, I love these three, the right-hand men of Zhu, and they're perfect. This whole part, they're like mad about what's happening, and Zhu is sitting right there listening to them, but like, they're not talking to him, they're talking to each other, but they're totally talking to him, and they're like, I just love this. Like, we're out of here, and he's like, no, you're not. You couldn't leave me. I love these three and Zhu. Like I said, Zhu and his interactions with pretty much anybody. And it's not just him. I absolutely adore him, but it's also because of the people he's interacting with. Him and his brothers, him and these three, because of the type of people these three are, because of the type of people his brothers are, their interactions with each other are so good. And Ning, because of what she's like, it's not just the one. So often in dramas, it's like, okay, these are the characters I love, and I don't really like these people, or I hate those people, so any kind of interactions between each other, anything that I love, is all on these people's part. When it comes to this drama, like, straight across the board, I really like all of these characters. So, like, it's a back and forth perfectly balanced interaction of, it's just so well done. And then there's the whole thing. This is the part where I was like, Ning, you're going a little too far. I understand why she did it, but it was like, you're going a little too far. Where she literally runs away to follow Zhu because she just can't take it, and she wants him to stay with her, and he's leaving, and she can't convince him to leave, and she doesn't want to regret things. So because of a conversation she had with Kadan did not mean for her to do this, but oops, she went and did it anyway. She runs away, and she follows, and like, she gets into all this kind of whatnot, and then Dylan finds out that she left, so he sends a letter so that Zhu finds out, and Zhu goes looking for her, and he finds her, and it's like this typical reunion where it's like he shows up just in time and all this stuff. But then it's very shortly that, I mean, it doesn't take very long, and Ning says this, where it's like she realizes, she literally says to Zhu, yes, I came out to get you, I came out for you because of you, but that's not why I want to stay now. Because she realizes she's one of those typical things, like she lives in the imperial capital far away from the war, and she's sheltered, and she's really starting to know it now, because she kind of knew before that she was a little bit sheltered, but now she's really understanding how sheltered she is, and she doesn't like it, because she knows she's going to be the future chieftain, and she's like, how am I supposed to be a proper leader when I haven't got a clue what's going on? So, like, even though she doesn't like it here, she doesn't like the living circumstances, it's dirty, and there's bugs, and it's scary, and it's blah, and all this stuff, she is so brave. She's such a brave girl. She puts up with so much in order to, like, in that scene was adorable, like, she's got her own little kingdom there, her own little tent, because she's scared of the bugs and stuff, and then it turns out Bai Chuan doesn't like the bugs either. Bai Chuan is this warrior girl that's out there on the battlefield all the time, and yeah, she doesn't like to be a leader. It's cute. And then, like I say, with Zhu and his geniuses, this whole wealth building hall, and it, like, it's a legit thing. He sets it up and it actually works. Like, it is incredible. Like, he is so smart. So smart. And he has the perfect people with him. He knows exactly what to do and exactly how to do it. And it's like, oh my gosh. And then this is one of those scenes, he's gonna go wash his hands, and his expression right there, when she asks, who do you think the baby's gonna be like, me or you? And he's currently washing blood off his hand because, like, he changed his clothes and everything to make sure he doesn't have blood on his hands when he goes to see his wife. He's currently pregnant with his baby. And then, like, she puts his hand on her stomach and there's blood there. And he freaks out, pulls his hand back. He's like, I gotta wash my hands and stuff. And it's like, oh, Dylan, you are, like, on a brink. And then, this is one of the scenes where there is magic. It's not him that's doing it, but there is magic. And it's like, what is this magic? Are you ever going to explain this? Are you ever going to go more into it? Like I said, with the whole magic thing at the beginning. But this scene, I don't know, I just really like the picture. It's cool. And then there's this whole scene where Si Yilin and Kadan see each other for the first time in quite a while, because Si Yilin had to go out on the battlefield. And then he comes back, and Ning helps Kadan sneak in and see him, and it's like, it was showing they were writing letters to each other and stuff, but neither one of them ever sent the stuff, and in fact both of them destroyed most of the letters, but both of them kept like one or two of the letters they wrote, and she found the ones that he had been writing. You're just too shy to show your feelings. And then there's this whole thing that Si Yilin said, and I'm like, that is so regularly what is happening, and yet people just let it happen, and nobody ever talks about it, nobody ever even calls it out as wrong. They all just act like it's a given that it's okay. It drives me insane, and I'm so happy every time someone calls it out. Where Si Yilin's like, ever since I put this uniform on, everything I do is for the family, everything I do is for Zichuan, but in the end, I got nothing. I only got engaged to a woman that I don't love. The chieftain asked me and her to get engaged when there were so many officials present. He, being the chieftain, imposed his will on me. I'm like, thank you for saying it exactly like it is, because that is exactly what happened. These stupid rulers and these stupid dramas do this all the time, where they act like they're being so benevolent and so magnanimous for bequeathing these engagements and stuff on people, when the people did not ask for it, did not want it, and if they try to say anything about the fact they don't want it, they're called out as the ones that are just being ungrateful. Oof. I was actually shocked in this one. Spoiler here. I'm actually shocked that Si Yilin went and talked to the chieftain, and the chieftain actually backed down and said, okay, never mind, I will stop the engagement. And he even went a step further and said, yes, if you accomplish this and this, then I will let you be with Karan of all people. I was shocked beyond belief. I hate that chieftain. I'm convinced that he's a twisted, no good, bad guy that's like... And yet, there are certain... I mean, the worst kind of people can have soft spots and actually care about people. Weirdly enough. It can happen. He really does seem to care about Ning, and he actually really does seem to care about Si Yilin. I couldn't believe it, but anyway. And then there was that whole scene. I'm only pointing it out because I legit did not expect that. Like I said, Zhang Ming put the list back up again of how many things I've seen him in. But have I even ever seen him kiss someone before? I don't remember if I even saw him kiss someone before. And then there was this scene, and then I'm like, they don't usually show as much detail as they showed in this scene. They legit don't usually show this much detail. So that right there, the fact they showed that much, I was like, oh, wasn't expecting that. And then on top of that, I wasn't expecting it from Zhang Ming. So, maybe I just haven't seen enough of him been in, or maybe he's changing what he's willing to do in dramas. I don't know, but I wasn't expecting it. So like, oh, okay. Anyway, this picture right here is just the ADHD thing, okay? You can tell the guy's got ADHD when, like, he's just randomly playing around with some weird random, where did you even pick that thing up? What's that have to do with anything? And you're, like, talking about important stuff, and you're randomly playing with a statue while you're doing it. Dude. And that's just the handsome and brave third brother. You're still so stupid. It's you. And then there was the whole fight and all that stuff. We're getting closer and closer to the end here. There's the whole fight and like his right hand man, because the place is getting attacked, and there was this whole Zhu came up with all these ideas for how they're gonna do it and all this stuff. And Si Yilin had to go out on the battlefield, and he was down there, and Zhu and his people were up on the wall watching. And he's like, I trust Si Yilin that he'll come back. And at the same time, he trusts him he's going to come back. But you know what? There's only so long that he can sit still. And then he's like, next thing you know, riding his horse out there to rescue Si Yilin. But it's like a rescue, but not a rescue, because it's like, it's not like Si Yilin was so weak and wimpy that he needed a rescue. It's not like that, because Si Yilin is like amazing at his job. I was trying to remember the nicknames they use for them. I think Dylan was the executioner, and Si Yilin is definitely the tiger, and then Zhu, I think they call him the flower or something because he's so good looking, and everybody misunderstands him because they always think he's just frivolous and doesn't know anything and all that stuff. And even in this, the bad guys know that Si Yilin is there, but they don't realize that Zhu is there. So they think it's Si Yilin doing this stuff, and they're like, wait a minute, this is not like him. This is not his usual style. What is going on here? And they can't figure it out because they don't know that Zhu is there. But there's the Zhu goes out there to help Si Yilin get back, and his people watching on the wall. They're like, oh, boss is not half bad. And there's that whole scene where he's like, get on the horse, and like, oh yeah, these guys, oh yeah. And then we reach the end of the drama. And where there's the whole conversation. Si Yilin truly lives up to being a hero. And Dylan, I love the way he says it. It's like, this is a brother for you. What hero? He's an idiot. That idiot Zhu, I bet they're together. Now a great hero is accompanied by a young hero, perhaps engaging in foolish antics. And I'm like, oh yeah, a lot of foolish antics. And so Dylan's people are like, we need backup. And Dylan's like, it's too late for that. I'm going to find those two idiots. And she's like, how can you with so few men? You're walking into a trap. Didn't you just say that their behavior is really foolish? Dylan's like, that's right. Those two are idiots. And she's like, then why are you? It's like, I'm the third idiot. And that is the end of this drama. That is literally the end of the drama. That's the last thing you see. Like I say, that is not an ending. There is clearly more to the story. That is just season 1. There is a season 2. I just don't know when it's going to be released. And I don't know if you found that interesting or not, walking through it that way, but that's why I loved this drama. It was because of the interactions with these characters, who these characters are, what they're like, their interactions with each other. It was epic. I was laughing so hard, so many times, mainly because of Zhu. And because of everybody's interactions with him, because he is so over the top ADHD, it's epic. I truly love it. He's like the freest type of ADHD where this is what he's like, and he's perfectly fine with it. Not ashamed in the slightest of who he is and what he's like. And I'm like, I'm actually really jealous. I'm like so jealous that he is so free. If there's one thing I wish I could be, it's that. My role model right there. But as much as I absolutely adore him, they're like, I really, really like all the other characters too. Like, there's just all of them. Every single one of the actors, they just did such a good job with this drama. And that is why I'm truly afraid, like I said, of a whole second season, because it would take a miracle for this drama to go on for 24 more episodes without dragging and, like, without wrecking everything they've done so far. Because, yeah, as it went further, they started spending more and more time with, like, the people that I don't want to spend time with. The bad guys, or that other guy that I forget the name of, and I put my book away. I'm like, these are not the people that I want to spend time with. That's it. Can we please go? Thank you. And then, of course, because it starts out dealing with the traders and all that stuff, but then it does move into more back into the North Clan and everything that's happening with the North Clan. So now all of a sudden we're going over to the North Clan and watching scenes with them. And I'm like, what? With some of those scenes. Are you weirdos? But yeah, I want the story to be finished. There's more, and I want it. But I don't want it to last for a whole second season, because it's going to be ruined if they drag it out for another 24 episodes. So we'll have to see what happens. Who knows? I don't know whether it's going to come out soon, or whether it's going to be like years before it comes out. Who knows? Science fiction? They have a science fiction tag on this? Okay. Oh, it's adapted from a novel. That's actually not really a surprise. So, yeah, that's the way I decided to do this one. I really, really enjoyed this drama. I am afraid of season 2. I have no idea what my opinion will be on season 2. We'll have to wait and see whenever it comes out. Because at the moment, it's kind of like a lot of other dramas where up until halfway through the drama, I absolutely love it, and then the whole thing goes downhill. I am so afraid this one is going to do that. So afraid it's going to do that, because at this moment it's like we're halfway through the drama. You can call it season 1 and season 2 if you want to, but it's like we're halfway through the story. So this is typically the point where now the whole thing goes downhill. We're going to have to see. I sincerely hope it doesn't, because I absolutely love it up to this point. And that was just a snippet, considering how long this is, of why. So I hope you enjoyed that, and yeah, I definitely recommend this one to go watch season 1 at the very least. If you're seeing this after season 2 comes out, I'm going to have to do a video when I watch that, I guess, but who knows when that'll happen. So, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments if you've watched this drama. Bye!